I'm a professor of aging, and the primary aim I have is preventing age-related diseases, therewith prolonging the healthy lifestyle.
Good morning, Andrea. How are you?
Thank you. It's not really morning here.
Well,
evening.
The thing is, I'm looking at the because we're recording this as well. If you wanna see what I see, and I address now the audience here, you can go to culturematters.com/YouTube and you can look up this conversation, because I'm looking at right behind you. There's the sun, or actually it's a window, and I can see outside, and it's actually the sun is setting. Right, that is where you are at this moment.
Yes, so I'm in Melbourne, so it's 8 o'clock in the evening, and what you also see is a cat sleeping, so which means it's evening.
That's also, yes. I can see the cat, the black and white cat on the sofa there, yawning away like cats do. I like cats as well. I also really like the subject that we're going to talk about, and that is, for me, a very interesting mix of a personal interest and a professional interest. Because you are, well, in the intro, we have heard that you are a professor of general medicine and aged care. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. We know that you're in Melbourne, but you have more of a cultural mix in terms of background. So tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I was born in Aurich, which means in Germany, a very, very tiny town. I grew up in tiny villages in Ostfriesland, which is also Germany. And then while studying medicine, I studied in different countries, and because I like different cultures. And so I studied from China, Tangshan, to Estonia, to New Zealand, to tiny cities in Canada. Mm-hmm. And then I moved while starting my job in Germany, I started working in the Netherlands. And from the Netherlands, while having a lot of international corporations, mm-hmm. because I'm a researcher, research is international, I went from the Netherlands to Melbourne. And now I have a double position at the University of Melbourne and at the Free University in Amsterdam. And I still have the German roots in the house over there.
That is quite. You're a professor and you have a chair, if you want, in Amsterdam and in Melbourne. That's not a location that is easily visitable, if that's a word. I mean, you don't jump from Amsterdam quickly to Melbourne, right? So how do you do that?
But even if you jump in Europe, you have to go and catch an airplane and you have to fly. And I do that from Melbourne to Amsterdam, which means it's a 30-hour, most of the times, trip. Uh-huh. That's quite okay because it's my private time. So I do that quite often, every 5 to 6 weeks. Wow. And I really enjoy it because I enjoy the flight, because most of the airplanes, they don't have a good Wi-Fi, which means that it's my time. Yeah. So I'm not disturbed by all the emails, etc., coming in, and not the questions. And I can sleep. So it's not really the distance. And when I flew to Melbourne the second time in my life, I have to say, I realized how small the world is, which is quite confronting, because I thought, what's next? Because I never went to before the headhunter contacted me. I really had, of course, I had a clue where Australia was, but I never went there before. So it really struggles me what's next, because the Earth is so small, because I'm flying to US from Australia to Europe and everything is connected. So it's quite small. So I'm not struggling with the distance. So the distance is more maybe culturally or what a brain can really try to capture in work.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I had a very very horrible question written down. I don't prepare much of these interviews because I'd like the flow of the conversation to be more spontaneous. And I was going to ask your age, but I'm not going to. I struck out that question because we're talking about age and aging, and I was thinking, okay, well, let's kick this off, asking your age, but that would be very impolite, so I'm not going to.
So I think you have to disentangle the chronological age, so my passport age, and the biological age. So if you want to know my biological age, I think my brain is quite young and I still like silly things and disruptive things in terms of behavior. And if you talk about the chronological age, I'm already in the age where I deteriorate in terms of the physical and cognitive function.
Okay, so and when does that start? So when does that deterioration start?
At the age of, it depends on the organ in our human body. So generally speaking, it starts at the age of 25.
25.
And there's some variation, but every organ really starts to deteriorate at the age of 27. So there's a range from 23 to 25, 27, where really the decline starts.
Okay, I'll tell my son that. He just turned 25. I'll tell him that he's at the peak of his physical being.
Yes, you should. So, and you also then should, I don't know if you like that, but you should tell him that he should reproduce quite in the near future, because this is the maximum of the physical capacity, which means that your damage in your cells is the lowest. So you don't want to give the damage to your offspring.
Okay, well, that's a discussion that we have, because I got 3 kids. One is 25, the other is 22. The youngest is 13. And I want to be a grandfather. You know, it's the title, you know, granddad or grandfather, but they're not ready for that yet. So it's that's a discussion I need to have with them. But I'll use your arguments as a supportive arguments there.
So from an evolution point of view, you should start early. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Is that age? Because that's again, that one thing triggers the other thing, you know, this chronological degradation or breakdown of the body. Is that just biological? In other words, does it make a difference whether you're a Japanese or whether you're a Southern Italian? You know, whether you eat a lot of fish or whether you eat a lot of Mediterranean food, olive oil, etc. I mean, I'm mentioning these two, Japanese and Southern Italian, because I think, to my knowledge, these people tend to age quite graciously.
That's true. So there are the blue zones on Earth, and the blue zones in Sicilia, in Japan, for example. And there the life expectancy is quite good. So there we have the oldest living people, but that's not the only good thing. Also, the health span is quite good. So the health span is the years in a healthy state. And the health span is quite dramatically, significantly different in these zones compared to other zones in Europe or US or in Australia. So, which means that if you are healthy and you age health in a healthy way, your biological age is also lower compared to chronological age. Because you don't only feel yourself younger, but you are physically and cognitively also younger. And if you are physically and cognitively younger, you're also very likely not having old age-related diseases, because the diseases are the end product of the aging process, independent on your pace of aging. So how fast you age, your biological age is younger and you don't have the diseases. Okay. Yes, and it's due to several factors, as you already mentioned. Yeah. It is not only that they eat fish or some vegetables, but they are quite actively integrated in society. They are very physically active because they do the work in the garden, etc. So it's more the physical activity together with the diet and the social surrounding, which makes that, these are quite healthy living people. Always we thought, okay, there should be some genetic makeup in these blue zones, that there are specific genes, but however, this is not true. So the genetic makeup is really not different in these zones compared to others. So it's really lifestyle.
So it's nature, it's nurture, it's not nature in this case.
Yes.
Okay. And so I mentioned these because I thought indeed that they were the areas in the world, Japan and the south of Italy, where people live longest. Are there other parts of the world where it's contrary? I mean, I can think of obvious places where there's a lot, like Beijing, where there's a lot of air pollution. I mean, that is probably not conducive to good health. So are there other places where lifestyle or and slash culture gets in the way of either a biological or chronological aging and actually speeds that up?
So yeah, actually also within Japan, for example, so the life expectancy within the inner city centers, it's lower compared to the regions. So because of the lifestyle, and if you look, for example, in Manchester, there was a very nice study. Mm-hmm. So Manchester, you would say, okay, it's a very nice study, or Newcastle, very nice study. UK life expectancy should be good because the socioeconomic status is quite good.
Yeah.
But within a city center, we already see a gradient dependent on socioeconomic status, which is also, of course, associated with culture and mortality. So within one city center, dependent where you are living, you have a life expectancy which differs 6 to 7 years within the same city. So it's not only between countries and not between regions, but within cities where we see that socioeconomic status goes along with mortality and morbidity.
And can you put it in terms of culture? Can you say, for instance, that the Dutch are generally one of the happiest people in the world? In other words,
no.
No, they're not?
No. So, no, they're not. So if we ask people to grade their life, so how happy are you?
Yeah.
Then the northern countries in Europe are better compared to the southern countries. Yeah. So you give, if you have a scale from 0 to 10, in the southern countries, they give a 6, 6.5, and the northern countries give it 8. And in the Netherlands, it's like a polder, it's a 7. So it's always mediocre in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it's always, yes, yeah, that's true. I mean, nothing is ever an 8 or a 9.
Nothing is extreme.
No.
So Dutch people are happy and they are quite healthy.
Yeah.
But also Dutch people, as other Western countries, have a very detrimental lifestyle, which goes with culture. So we like to eat, and with the eating habits, we are obese, and with obesity comes diseases, and there was a higher rate of the aging trajectory, and there was a high biological age.
Okay, so if I go to Fable once in a while, that's really bad, right? And nobody knows what Fable is. I guess you do.
Yes, of course, I know what Fable is, so don't go there because it's quite fatty. Yeah. So if you want to have a French fries, it's not a French fries, but it's fries.
Yes.
If you go there, you can go there once a month. Even I have my French fries on Friday, so that's my French fries day. Because the other days I'm eating quite healthy and I'm enjoying eating French fries on Friday. So that's nothing bad, but it's more balancing not only what you eat but your behavior, and that's quite important. And that you have in mind what your behavior is, and then there is a strategy of compensation. So on Friday there is the French fries, on Saturday there is the green salad.
Okay, all right. To compensate, to make up. And on Friday you keep your sanity by eating your French fries. And by the way, Fable is a fast food joint where you eat out of the wall, and that is a very typical Dutch, I think, thing that I haven't seen in many other countries in the world. At least not the greasy food that you get from the store called Fable. It's a chain as well. I was thinking about, all of a sudden this hit single from Queen popped up in my mind. This was and I looked it up in 1986. Queen had a hit single and it's called "Who Wants to Live Forever." And are there cultures that want to live forever? Is that the ultimate goal, or are there cultures that say, well, forget it, this is good enough as it is?
It's not cultures, but younger people would like to live forever. So there have been a lot of interviews done in different cultures within a culture or in populations, and young people really don't want to die. Old people, which means older, 70 to 80 years old, they had enough of living most of the time, so they are happy if they are going to die. And they're not typical populations in terms of countries who really want to live longer. They are countries who live longer compared to others. So it's really dependent on your population and the society you're talking to. It's not country specific. So it may be culture specific, but then within population or within, and especially the younger individuals who do not want to die because they are, of course, they want to reproduce and they want to enjoy their life, and they think everything will still stays the same.
Yeah, and I guess in our minds it stays the same as well. I mean, you said yourself, like your biological age and chronological age can be quite different, and for you yourself that counts, and I guess for me as well. I mean, I think of myself as being this 20 plus kid, you know, who likes to play around, at least in my mind, you know, and physically I see the strains of life occasionally coming back. You know, and that I get this kind of thing, I get that kind of thing, and then I am at my doctor's because of this or that, etc. And although generally I reckon I'm doing decently well for my age, that is.
I won't ask your age, but you are looking young.
Oh, thank you. I'll give it to you in any case. I'm 54, so.
You're quite young. So actually, that's not a good sign that you have to go to the doctor. So the mean age when you become a patient, so which means that you have the first chronic disease, is at the age of 45. Okay. So try to escape that, that being a patient.
Yes, well, I was at my, I don't know why we're talking about this, but since we're on the topic, I was at my doctor's just the other day, just for something unimportant, without getting into details. And he looked at my file, which is an online file, and he said, oh, "Okay, that's quite good." I said, "What do you mean quite good? I'm here. I have something that I'm here to see you." He said, "No, your file is quite thin." So that was, and he said that is good. If your file is thin, that's good, because there's not much to to look at or to do. Now you're concerned, yeah.
Partly true.
Okay.
Because either you avoid going to the doctor, which means your file is quite thin. And it can be very thin with a serious disease because you don't go to the doctor if you have symptoms. Yeah. Or it's really thin if you really try to prevent age-related diseases. Right. So in your case, I think thin is good, but not always thin is good.
Okay. All right. Well, after this interview, I'm going to have a raw herring that I bought yesterday, and I forgot to eat yesterday, so it has to go today. And I think that would be relatively healthy, fatty fish food, providing, of course, it's not infected with heavy metals and stuff like that. I want to get back to the culture a bit, Andrea, if you're okay with that. You're originally from Germany, right? And you have you're a professor in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands, and a professor in Melbourne, Australia. So when you talk about your subject, aging and age and getting older and stuff like that, do you see a difference being a German, looking at, do the Dutch take this in easier, or do the Australians take this in easier? Who is more receptive to this?
I would say Europe is more receptive. So it's a hot topic in Europe and in the Netherlands. So everybody is thinking about aging, everybody is talking about aging, and everybody is seeing it as a problem, which is the sad side of the story, because it's the success of what we did. That's true. So yes, aging is in the media in Europe. Aging is not in the media, and there is not in society in Australia. It's an unrecognized phenomenon. Nobody is talking about it, and nobody is really realizing that there might be a problem in terms of population sizes, etc.
So why do you say that? Because that, for me, that seems that you see a problem. There is a problem.
I don't see a problem. No, I see it as a success, but it's sold as a problem because the baby boomers are coming, and the baby boomers, they will retire in the next 10 years. And there is a financial problem. Yeah. I would say turn it around. We already know in 65, 70 years that the baby boomers are coming because they were born. Yeah. And therewith we know the number of individuals aging. And in the last 50 years, we already know that it's quite hard to die because we have all the interventions for all the diseases. So we are accumulating the diseases, and also the baby boomers are accumulating these diseases. Yeah. So it's quite logical that we have a bigger number in terms of population sizes who are aged with age-related diseases, and then it's interpreted that there is a problem. However, I think we could anticipate towards the success, because it's our success, first of all, that we have baby boomers, and the second thing, that they are still alive. Yeah. So I wouldn't call it a problem, but it's most of the times the society see it as a problem, because especially it's financial driven.
Okay, I was so you're focusing on you actually want to label it as a success, while it's being sold as a problem. On the other hand, you know, this whole obesity thing, that must be a problem, isn't it? Or is obesity bigger than cancer at this moment?
So I think obesity is a real problem, but obesity is something else than aging. So even with obesity, we are aging, because with obesity they go along with a lot of age-related diseases, and we have drugs for the age-related diseases. Mm-hmm. So even if you're obese, of course you have a higher chance to die, but you will not die because of our major events and our successes in medicine. So aging is not the problem. Obesity, so our lifestyle is a problem, and it's not only our lifestyle. It's you, me, and I'm not obese, luckily, but so
I can see that clearly.
So it's our lifestyle, it's our habits, which makes it quite difficult to stay healthy as a group, and that's a problem.
Yeah. So it's easier for the individual, evidently, but if you want to nail it down to a group and change this lifestyle, this actually triggers another thing this is a question I have written down. You are an advocate of healthy food and getting enough exercise, and that seems so much common sense, right? Common sense, but it's apparently not common practice, at least not for groups of people, I guess, or maybe whole countries as well. Which cultures do you find are most open to pick up these lifestyle changes fastest? Is that, again, back to the European thing?
No, it's not picking up it fastest, because we are already talking about evidence of the last 50 years. We already know that since 50 or even 100 years, that obesity is detrimental for your body, and we don't pick it up. And even the obesity rate is increasing, so we don't pick up something at all. And the only thing we know is that the countries who live the longest with less diseases, they are the ones where obesity is not a problem, which means that's really the rural areas of Japan, for example, the blue zones. So we do not learn. And the reason why we are not learning and we are still obese, and the incidence of this obesity is still increasing, especially in children, is because we are lazy. And
as a people, we are lazy.
As a population, we are, as human beings, our species, human beings, next to our cats and dogs living with us, we are very, very lazy. And why are we lazy? Because we lost the capacity to hunt. We lost the capacity to do something with our body, because we have an app to get our food, and we have an app to plan our lives. Yeah. So we don't have to move anymore, but we would like to eat, because eating gives a very nice feeling in us. That's the reason why we are eating, and we are eating too much, that it's a little bit satisfaction. And out of this satisfaction rises a lot of rises negativity, which is age-related diseases like diabetes, heart failure, strokes, etc. All these diseases are linked to obesity, which means our habits, So we are too lazy and we don't learn. And I think we don't have, that's also the reason that we of course we should learn, and we should be thin. However, there's no incentive to do that.
But because isn't that I don't know. I'm thinking back here again. A personal thing. It's my mom. She's still alive, 82 years old. and she had a double knee operation. Say the left or the right knee got operated twice. And just before that first operation, I put her on a diet. I mean, that sounds really strict. But the master walks in and puts his mom on a diet. Well, that was not the case. But she never liked cooking, and I said, okay, well, I'll prescribe you this and these and these and these foods. Leave those foods and eat those foods. She lost close to 20 kilos. Right, which is, I mean, at that age, and she was 75 at that time or something, or late 70s. And she clearly told me, and she got in the car and she was able to put on her safety belt herself. And she said, I've never realized how much all that of me was in the way. Does that make sense? That is an incentive, isn't it? I mean, she's gained the 20 kilos plus again. How can that not be an incentive?
So, of course, there is an incentive, because if you lost it and you keep it like this, that's such a wonderful life, and people see that. But during that journey, that's quite hard, because there's not an incentive to do it, because you will get the new knees without losing weight. Mm-hmm. So that could be an incentive, that you have to first lose weight and that you hold the weight for a couple of months, because then you show that you can hold weight, and then you get the new knees. And what is so wonderful, that there are studies done, if you are losing weight, you hold weight, you do exercise training, that you don't need the new knees, because you strengthened your body and you strengthened your muscle. So the operation is just useless at that point of time.
I can remember my parents, when they were young, they had a scooter. And they drove from the Netherlands to Italy, and they went over the Alps because the tunnels did not exist. They did not have helmets and stuff like that. All that stuff did not seem to be dangerous. If you look at movies from the 70s, 60s, and 70s, smoking looked like it was healthy. Nobody knew smoking was dangerous except a couple of people, of course. Then it became that eggs were dangerous for you, and now they're not. And then there's spinach, which was bad, and now it's not. Is that what else is there on the shelves that is considered being good now or bad now, and that you consider might swing the other way? Actually, you understand what I'm
yes. Asking? Yeah. So there are some consistent factors, like we know that smoking. So smoking was not considered bad. Mm-hmm. Smoking is now bad.
Yeah.
But now, especially young individuals and especially women start smoking again. So the ones who start smoking and not quitting smoking is higher, and it's increasing, because it gets to the environment again that it's sexy to smoke, for example, and that's quite detrimental.
Yeah.
So, and of course, there was a time where we thought, okay, all these mobile phones will be detrimental. So until now, that's not a detrimental effect. However, we can't really look into the future in the next 50 years, what that's...
we can or we cannot?
We cannot.
No? Okay.
Because we have no clue, because changes can be quite slow. So there we are not able to detect changes. And that was the same in smoking. So just really in the 15s, it became that the awareness, okay, you're smoking, you have more lung cancer. And it takes some decades to really get the association and to prove the causality. What we know is obesity is quite detrimental for your health, and even if we know that, we don't do something.
Okay.
This is because we have an excellent healthcare system.
Yeah, possibly too good. I mean, and that is that's one of the biggest gains, of course, that we have, which has led to a longer lifespan, of course. I am looking at the clock, and we're about 30 minutes into recording. What is the Holy Grail to become very old? What is the one thing or three things that you could do to get old, to be old, and healthy, of course?
So the first ingredient is that you have to choose your parents wisely.
Okay.
So this is 25% of your longevity.
Uh-huh.
which means, okay, that this is of course not possible, but choose your partner wisely
Uh-huh.
for your offspring, because we are humans, we are a species, which means that the only thing we should do on Earth is reproduce and invest in the species.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure that genetic makeup is the best, dependent on the environment we are living in. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and that's a very, very big thing, is the lifestyle. And of course, we already know, and I won't go into detail, but it's really the diet, and so not being obese. It's a physical activity. It's a good sleep. A lot of social factors, being surrounded by family members, friends, is very important. Okay. People live longest if they go to church. That doesn't mean that church is the Holy Grail, but it's a community, because people recognize if you don't go to church, which means maybe you're sad or something is going wrong, and people ask where you are. So, and especially in the generations from the 20s and 30s who grew up within a church culture, there we really find that, and the distinctive that you have to be surrounded with people who care, or who observe you. If they really care is another question. So that's important. And the third one is it's also quite important. It's having luck. So
how do you do that?
I really don't know, but you can have bad luck. So you can have bad luck at younger ages, for example, where for example your body is for example so stressed that you have a breakdown of one of your systems and you get cancer at early age. So which is really bad luck, because it's not in your genes, and you were very, very healthy, and you just have the luck to become a patient of very young disease due to really bad luck. And it's not genetically driven, but it's just a DNA damage, for example. So these are the three very, very big and important ingredients, whereas the lifestyle, 75% is the biggest.
I'm making notes as we speak, because I'm going to put these notes in the show notes as well. All right, sounds really good. Normally, I would ask my guests to come up with 3 tips to become more culturally competent, but this is somewhat of a deviant subject, but still related to culture, and it's a very international, spanning the globe, aging, because it happens to all of us, whether we like it or not. Your book, Forever Young, that is that the English title as well? Because you have written, well, at least the book that I bought, and that triggered me to get in touch with you as well. Has that been translated in English as well?
We are at the moment translating, so it will be launched in Australia and the English-speaking countries at the end of the year.
The end of the year is 2017.
Yes, 2017. Yes,
okay.
The end of the year.
Okay, well, yeah, some people are listening to this in the future, so that might actually be in 2018. And what's the title of the book?
So that's the most important, of course, questions, and we don't have a title yet for the English, and that is still missing, because Eeuwig Houdbaar, which is the Dutch title, is not really translatable because it's so unique. Yeah. And it's translated as Forever Young, but I think Forever Young is really, it's such a common title that I don't like it. So we're still working on that, and that's the reason why it's not launched yet.
Okay. How about past your expiration date or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not here to come up with your title. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, if you Google Andrea Maier, and Maier is spelled Maier, then you come up pretty high in the Google searches, and no doubt your book will be part of that as well.
Yes.
If you
read it, it's very good.
Read it. I know it's very good. It's I can vouch for that as well.
Especially if you are young, so it's not a book for old persons, whatever old is.
Yeah.
But a lot of tips for the 30 to 50-year-olds.
Okay. I'm just out of that range. That is so unfair. Okay. I'm actually, my daughter, 13 years old, is very interested in your TV performance, which unfortunately was only in Dutch, and there's no subtitles there. You did a series of 5 episodes on the Dutch University, or Nederlandse Universiteit. You did that, and that was all about your subject. And unfortunately, they never subtitled that. So that is a consideration to have that subtitle, because the reach will be a lot bigger. I don't understand why this is not aired on TV as well. Any case, if people want to get in touch with you, Andrea, how could they do that? And if you want that, of course, as well.
Just send me an email and follow us. So my group is called @H Amsterdam and @H Melbourne. We just launched a website at the Melbourne site, and in the future there will be an Amsterdam site. So it's the from the emails, and then H like H, yeah, and Amsterdam and Melbourne where we work. And otherwise, send me an email a.b.maier, M-A-I-E-R, @hotmail.com.
Okay, now it's a good thing that these 30-hour flights are there, so you don't have to read all these emails. Okay.
And follow me on Twitter. That's also important. Okay. Twitter, Andrea B. Maier, M-A-I-E-R.
Maier, M-A-I-E-R.
Okay. Andrea B. and then Maier.
Got that. All right. Put that in the show notes as well. You can find that all in culturematters.com. Andrea, thank you so much for your time and talk. In the meantime, it has grown dark. The cat is gone out hunting, I guess. That's what cats do at night. And the audio system, your new stereo system, stayed kind of quiet as well. So that's good. Thanks so much. And I hope to bump into you in the future. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.